Alright, let's hit some music. There we go. Wasn't playing for a second. Alright. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Corner Wrestling Radio. We're live at January 16th, 2024. Myself, Stan Grubb, and I'm joined by my tag team partner, as always, Brian Taylor. What's up, man?
What's up? What are you doing?
I am, well, let's see, NXT is on right now. The
Booers.
Did you say Boo Hurts? The Dusty Classic is going on currently, both the men's and now a women's Dusty Classic. So, men and women's tag team tournaments. The funny thing is, like, while I get that Dusty did have a lot of roles in some of those tournaments we saw back in the day in the NWA and WCW, I don't remember Dusty being a tag team wrestler much. I know he did it. Like, I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I don't remember Dusty Rhodes tag team wrestling a lot.
Well, I mean, let's not forget that didn't he and Nikita win the Crockett Cup?
Yes, they won the first year, isn't it?
No, I think second. I think Road Warriors won the first one, or
Okay.
maybe it was third. I don't remember. They won one of the cups.
That's right. That's after Magnum's accident. You're right.
Yeah, he teamed with Magnum quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did do tag team. Because he was going against the Horsemen, so he kind of had to do
Yeah.
tag team. But I wouldn't necessarily say like he was a tag team
Like specialist or anything. Yeah.
specialist.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have just stuck to a singles.
Well, no, actually, him and Dick Murdoch were tag team a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure they won. I mean, this would have been like mid '70s, I think, because I think Ric Flair was like a car riding buddy or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Let me look up Dusty Rhodes tag team wrestling here for a second. I want to say that Dusty was a tag champion in the NWA with Dick Murdoch, but
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Here we go. Dusty Rhodes and the Pro Wrestling Wiki. I love it. Screw Wikipedia. All right, here we go. Championships and accomplishments. World Tag Team Champion with Manny Fernandez.
When was that?
Here we go. So, got a lot of scrolling to do here. Let's see. Manny Fernandez got to be early in his career. Let's see here. Early career, Texas Outlaws with Dick Murdoch. So he did not win tag championship gold there, but he wins. Yeah.
That's kind of that they did. Are you sure they didn't have a tag title somewhere?
I could have swore the Texas Outlaws did. I don't know why. Maybe it's like one of those Mandela effects or something, or Manchurian Tiger or whatever the fuck.
Man,
I just fucked it up twice.
maybe it's a man.
Oops. Let's see here. Damn. I would like to watch him and Dick Murdoch's tag matches. I wonder if that's on the network at all.
It'll probably depend on what company it was.
Freaking Murdoch was a badass.
Oh yeah, back then both of them were because they were
Yeah,
bad guys.
yeah. 1974 um, is when Rhodes turned face. So wow, so it would have been early 70s. Damn. It's still hard to believe that Dusty's not with us anymore. Sucks. Oh, but anyway, like I was saying, the Dusty Classic is currently happening on NXT. I've said it many times. I don't know half the people on NXT. I do have it on usually every Tuesday, just because it's wrestling, so it's on TV. But I don't know who these people are. I know who Joe Gacy is. I know who Ava Rain is, obviously, because that's The Rock's daughter. Um, but like the Creed brothers were my favorite. They're on the main roster now. Um, I don't know hardly any of the women on there. I know who Gigi Dolan is because of Mandy Rose's faction. Um, Toxic Attraction is what that was. Um, and I know who Dragon Lee is, obviously. But outside of that, it's like, no, not really.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think in this case, the WWE maybe would have benefited from this tournament by including main roster tag teams.
Yeah, like I would have had the Creeds in it,
Yeah.
because they're very popular, and it's only a matter of time. They really are like today's version of the Steiners. I love watching them. But I would have had them. I would have maybe had Imperium, because Imperium had a wonderful NXT run.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And you could
maybe
easily done
DIY.
it. You could easily done it like the um, what AEW New Japan does. So you
Yeah,
had a bracket for your main roster, mixing Raw and SmackDown, and then you had a NXT bracket, and then eventually, like the two teams meet at WrestleMania or something.
right.
You know, you don't have to necessarily have anything involved, but um, I mean, again, you put Dusty's name on it, and it's on. You know, I guess you call it your B program or C program.
Yeah. Once it gets to the CW, it's going to be like the D program. Wonder if like they'll have Vampire Diaries do cameos or something. Is that still on the air? Like I don't even know.
Oh, I don't know, but it tells a lot on your viewing, what shows you view if you know about the Vampire Diaries.
Well, the Arrowverse is dead, so we're not going to see Steve Amell there.
You might still, because didn't he do WrestleMania at one time?
He did a SummerSlam match, which
Or
I still
SummerSlam?
say that he may have missed his calling because he had a hell of a showing both there and at what was it, All In with Christopher
Mm-hmm.
Daniels. Like that was a good match. And it still breaks my heart that Heels was canceled. Um, God, it was a great show. Steve Amell,
I wonder if I can blame Punk. Can I blame Punk?
blame him. Blame Ricky Rabies. Damn, I want to cuff her Duffy. I mean, it was just so cool, and the way they presented indie wrestling was, quite frankly,
I mean, again, you and I, right? We've
yeah,
done it, right? We've
yeah,
enjoyed indies for a very
yeah,
long time.
yeah.
You know, we've traveled. We've actually traveled to go see indie shows.
Hmm.
We went to Chattanooga, right? For
Still one of the most fun indie shows I've ever watched as a fan.
an amazing trios tournament. You know, we've gone to Maryland a couple of times, and I
Curse
enjoy
UMCW.
Huh?
Curse you, MCW.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy an indie show because, again, I don't need. For me, I don't need story,
Yeah.
especially if it's some convoluted, stupid ass 90-year-old woman is giving birth to a hand story, or
Hmm.
we're crawling into the casket to have sex with the high school girlfriend story. You
Uh,
know,
I
just
remember how
give,
mad we all were when that happened.
yeah, just give me good wrestling. Like I'm at that age. I don't need story. I just want good wrestling.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when you go to an indie show, it's good wrestling
Hmm.
that you don't have to keep track of. I don't have to see any other product. The majority times you get to interact with the wrestlers, which is always fun to do.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes there's only 20 people there, and you can really have fun because you can just you know boo the good guys and cheer for the bad guys, and
Hmm.
kind of take over the show. You know, and and not in a bad way, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
that's what they're looking for. You know, I mean, could you imagine if we'd gone and seen MJF
Oh my
on the
God.
Indies, like sitting front row? Because normally we try and get up front.
As hardcore kayfabe as he is, I swear to God, he would have cussed us.
I don't think so. I absolutely don't think so. I think he'd have been like, "Oh, these three guys right here, I'm going to have fun."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, we wouldn't have known any different. Like, what was the one in? It wasn't Maryland. What was the other one we were going to?
So
Um,
we went
in
to
Northern Virginia,
Nova Pro.
Nova.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they had the three other guys that were kind of dressed up.
Oh yeah, yeah. The 1%, and their
Yeah,
their
yeah,
uh, their gated community was the fans of the
yeah,
one
yeah.
percent.
And you had like 3 or 4 dudes that came dressed up in suits. They were part of the 1%.
Hmm.
But look at the interaction. The bad guys had somebody cheering them,
Hmm.
and they absolutely love that stuff.
They were drinking sparkling cider. Remember?
Yeah.
Hey, since you mentioned that, since you brought up Nova Pro, shout out to Logan Easton LaRue for closing out his career 2 weeks ago. He's
Oh wow.
officially retired. Wrestled his last match, I believe. If I read it correctly, he wrestled it against the guy we saw him compete against in a ladder match, Chet Sterling. I can almost guarantee that that match was damn close to 5 stars because when we watched that ladder match, it was great.
Hmm.
Um, Closest I've ever been to a ladder match, by the way. And I remember when the ladder fell, it was literally in our laps. Like it was right there in front of us. It was so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Um, and Logan LaRue is a perfect example of that. He was the champion of the 1%, the indie
Hmm.
wrestling champion. It was like IWTV, was it? I don't remember exactly, but um, yeah, a guy that knew what the business was about and
Hmm.
clearly valued what the fans enjoyed and made sure to
Hmm.
deliver it. So,
Yeah.
congratulations, Mr. LaRue, on an awesome career.
Yeah, but to me again, that's the joy of an indie show,
Yes.
right? And the smaller the crowd for me, the better, because that just means I can literally like draw their attention. Like they're
Hmm.
not going to pay attention to anybody else sitting on their hands, but they're going to know, you know, I'm ringside, you're ringside, Rob's ringside. Hell, we've done it at a WWE house show and taken a stupid show.
Yep. Yep. Good old bad news Barrett. Want to thank you, Mr. Wade Barrett.
Yeah,
Gave him the Queen's wave.
yeah. I mean, but again, to me, that's why I love indie shows.
Hmm.
So go see them, find them. I'm waiting for Mid Atlantic to get close to me, and I have every intention of going to see Mid Atlantic territory wrestling. that's next on my list.
Yeah. He was just looking at LaRue's cage match page. He was I didn't realize he was only 5'11". For some reason I thought he
Yeah,
was taller.
no, he's a little fella.
But there's in comments on his page reminds me of a few other guys like Gunnar Miller.
Hmm.
We saw him in Chattanooga. He was awesome. And he was stacked too. Like he should have been, in my opinion, bigger than he was. Bobby Shields, we saw him a few times. We saw him in Nova and we saw him in MCW. Um, damn, that's cool. I like being able to kind of look through and see some of those folks.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think the best indie show we've seen has got to be the Chattanooga one.
Oh yeah,
Scenic City, yeah.
most definitely that was the best. Absolutely the best.
I mean, I had a lot of fun in Charlotte watching the Queens of Combat stuff. They were good.
Oh, the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fan convention.
yeah. I mean, even that we were kind of exposed to people I'd never seen before. I mean, who could forget cauliflower?
Oh yeah, yeah, that guy. Oh dude.
Cauliflower.
Only in
I mean,
wrestling can you get a
no.
cauliflower over.
I mean, his whole gimmick cauliflower, an ear of cauliflower. That's what it's called.
Man. I still see posts from time to time um, regarding shoot. I had it in my head and I'm lost it. Damn it to hell. Oh, well, I guess we'll just transition over to this. So we're still seeing people talking about Bischoff and Khan, right? Tony Khan. But in this case, there was a response put out by Dax Harwood, where they were interviewed, and recently they were discussing the back and forth between Bischoff and Tony. And Dax basically calls Bischoff a miserable podcaster, and Cash Wheeler says that Bischoff has been really mad about AEW not hiring. I'm going to read the response that Bischoff stated on his podcast, and then we can dive right through it. I'm sure this will be a fun one. It says, I thank the Lord every day that I don't have to go to work for a guy like Tony Khan. I stayed supportive of Tony Khan until November 2 years ago. Tony Khan made an ignorant comment about Ted Turner. Completely ignorant. Tony doesn't have a fucking clue what went on in WCW and why it's not around. The only thing that he knows is what Dave Meltzer told him. He always gets those Dave Meltzer shots in. It was disrespectful and ignorant. Once somebody disrespects someone publicly I respect, they go on a different list. I don't care if you're a trust fund baby who owns a wrestling company. I no longer have any respect for you. That was it, Dax. It wasn't because I asked for a job and didn't get one. It wasn't because I was hoping to get a job offer and it never came. I wake up every day grateful that I don't have to work for somebody like Tony Khan. Or even if I wanted to work for Khan, I'm grateful I don't have to jump on a plane to do it. Or put up with what obviously has been the amount of drama that has taken place backstage in AEW far surpasses any of the fictional drama that has taken place in the ring. I don't want to be part of that. Now, Dax, I understand you have to because you don't have options. Ouch, but I do. If anybody out there listening, if you're head of the network, if you're head of the movie studio and you want me to come work for you, I'd have to be able to do it from my home. I'm not traveling unless I want to, so I don't want a job from anybody. End quote.
End quote.
Ew.
Wait. See, I guess the thing about Bischoff that gets me a lot of times is he has developed the Vince McMahon revisionist attitude.
Yeah, very much so.
Right? Like, does he not know that there are a lot of people that are still around and watch wrestling that grew up on WCW and remember the issues with WCW? Like, have we forgotten?
I think what floors me is like he acts like what happened to WCW isn't a matter of public record. Like literally, there are multiple books, multiple interviews, including interviews he's done where he has told exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, but again, though, I can't even I can't even really like accept that because again, there's like sometimes he dances around so much
Hmm.
that you just don't know if you can believe him. And case in point, um, Jarrett taking the pin for Hogan, right?
Hmm.
Now again, let's not forget at this time he was back in charge. He was back in charge, but yet when it happens, he and Hogan decide to leave the arena,
Yeah.
right? See, the cool thing is all that crap that gets thrown at Russo. It's a lot of it. I'm not gonna let Russo off the hook either. But a lot of that stuff, Bischoff was in charge,
Hmm.
and he allowed it to happen. And again, if you were so good at what you did, you wouldn't have lost Jericho, Eddie, Austin, Benoit, Malenko. You wouldn't have lost your company. That's on you, bud. That's on you. You can blame the fans or blame TV execs or whatever. That's on you because you ran it right into the dirt. And any number of other people that left, all because you did what you did.
Yeah.
So this show's not going to excuse you. Like, we're not going to let you just have a pass.
No. And nor should we. I mean, you're right. I mean, Russo, rightfully so, takes a lot of abuse. He takes a lot of crap. But Bischoff not only let it happen under his watch, he was complicit with it.
Yeah.
Like it was partly his idea for Hogan to basically step on Jarrett and to do the one finger push over. And the biggest problem I have with that is not the fact of what they did in the ring. It's that Bischoff left with Hogan. How can you be in charge and running a company and they're like, I'm gonna just leave with the top guy?
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
just Vince McMahon would have never did that.
Fuck no. I think the only time we've ever heard Vince leave is when The Undertaker.
Yes, WrestleMania 30 when Taker had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Took 30 years for that to actually take place. Bischoff was in charge for 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always floors me when he says something like that. And here's the thing, he kind of tells you what really happened. If you learn how to read Eric Bischoff, he will deny until he's blue in the face until somebody finally shows it to him in print. And even then he's like, "Well, you got to understand." And he says it right here. He says, it wasn't because I asked for a job and didn't get one." No, that's exactly right. You did ask for a job. And Tony Khan only hasn't come out and said it because you would probably threaten a lawsuit. Because that's what Bischoff does. Bischoff's great at litigation. Him and Jim Cornette are great at that. If they don't like what's being said, they go to their attorney, they go to court.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that not only did he not get the job, but he was furious that he didn't get it.
Oh, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he would. If he was offered a job or he wanted a job and he didn't get it, of course he's going to be furious,
Yeah.
right? Because again, his own ego, you can tell by his own ego,
Hmm.
right? You can tell by the way when he talks about people. You can tell by the revisionist history of WCW,
Hmm.
which again, ladies and gentlemen, ended in 2000, right? 99, 2000,
Well, officially 2001.
2001. What year?
March of 2001.
Okay, so we are almost 23 years removed.
Yep.
He took power in 95, and he crashed the plane shortly thereafter.
Put it in the dirt. Couldn't even put it in the water. Put it in the dirt.
In the dirt. He did it to Impact. He went to the WWE, thought he was going to pull shenanigans, lasted a week, and they kicked him out one time. Bye, you're gone. I would much rather listen to Jim Cornette than I would put any stake in Eric Bischoff.
Well, that's because Cornette earned the right to be crazy. He earned his stripes. Like, he literally did everything from the bottom up. And the company he ran, Smoky Mountain, the only reason it stopped was because he started getting money from WWF.
Yeah. I mean, Smoky Mountain was legit on its way. I mean, there's no denying that Smoky Mountain was clicking on all cylinders.
I think a lot of people could honestly look at what Smoky Mountain was doing and identify that had it not been for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, ECW would probably not have existed. Because look, they introduced the Gangsters. They introduced, what's the guy's name? The Sandman got his start there, and there's a few other guys. But that hardcore style that was happening in Smoky Mountain. Wasn't happening anywhere else. Well, maybe Mid South. Can't. Well, USWA is what I mean. They were doing some hardcore stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I would take Cornette over Bischoff any day. And I'm almost shocked that like somebody like Cornette hasn't even chimed in yet. Be like, listen, you're an idiot. You're a buffoon.
Yeah.
Like, we all know what you did.
It's a freaking bonehead. that's the best way I can put it. He just at this point it's comedy. It's just like, dude, come on, everybody knows. It's not a secret anymore. There is no curtain to pull anymore. We all see you. We all hear you.
Yeah.
You know, Meltzer can be a lot of things, and yeah, he's had a lot of controversy around him lately about fake stories. But you know, Meltzer wasn't always getting fake information. He posted what was told to him by Bret Hart. He posted what was told to him by Bruce Pritchard at one point. He posted what was told to him by, oh, holy shit, yeah, Eric Bischoff, when he helped Bischoff for his interview for Off the Record up in Canada, back when Bischoff was trying to claim Hogan was selling so many tickets. There's a lot of things that happened that Bischoff's just like, I forgot about that. That didn't actually happen. It did happen, Eric. You're an idiot, dude. I get it. You've had your TV success. Cool. I'm not going to take that away from you. But I also think you're an idiot. Like, I also think you're just really full of yourself. And you're really proud that WCW did a great thing for 5 years. And here's the thing. Like,
well, it's not even 5 years.
Had Bischoff not taken charge, sure, WCW would have stayed a much more southern presentation. I think he called it a much more regional, but I considered it more southern. Mm-hmm. If it had, I think it would likely still be around today, just maybe on smaller TV. It would be like TNA, like Hard to Kill. And people would talk about it like that.
That's possible. Because so the difference, right? So the one good thing WCW had in its favor, right? So let's say, I don't know, let's say Jim Ross took over. And I think it was Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, and Eric Bischoff in the runnings for that spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say Jim Ross takes over, right? I think Jim was, to me, would have probably been the best qualified
Hmm.
because you don't really hear about what Tony's done behind the scenes. Right now, maybe one day it'll come out that he's been an agent and he's been part of the booking committee and all this other stuff, right? But to my knowledge, you don't really have that yet for Tony Schiavone. So let's take Jim Ross,
Yeah.
right? So the one good thing that probably could have kept it going was the fact that it sprang from the Crockett's, right? It was Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Hmm.
And that was Virginia down to Georgia, I believe.
Hmm.
And then maybe Tennessee and Kentucky. No, maybe I don't know. It might have gone in just a little bit. So I think though, once you got to the spot, I think Ross would have had enough intelligence to maybe back it down a little bit, and you could have probably kept it going in the same circuit that you had been going in, because again, it was more of a, if you want to call it, Southern style of wrestling.
Hmm.
You probably could have survived in that circuit for a very long time, because there's no doubt somebody would have picked it up,
Hmm.
especially coming on the heels of or just being a contender. You could have easily kept it on 605 Live, kept filming in whatever whatever that little arena you filmed in,
Hmm.
and run your house shows and run your pay-per-views, and you probably would have been just as you would have survived, right? You wouldn't have been making hundreds of millions of dollars,
Hmm.
but I bet you probably would have survived, and eventually you probably would have turned into like TNA.
I feel like with what we saw with WCW, with what we had there, and let's just use '93 as a starting point. 1993 was actually a tough year for WCW. Flair was not back yet. Arn Anderson was there. Top stars were kind of tough to come by. Ron Simmons had kind of climbed and then fallen. Vader was there. He was champ, but still wasn't as much. But you had a hot tag team scene. You had the Hollywood Blondes. You had Wyndham and Dustin Rhodes. And then you had Steamboat and Shane Douglas, which both of those teams were great. Um, you had some cameos by the Rock and Roll Express. Your mid card was pretty solid. The U.S. title: Dustin Rhodes, Rick Rude, Steve Austin. But main event wise, it was just lacking. Sting was of course there, but in '93, Sting was struggling with some rib injuries and knee injury. Um, so you had some of the bones of it. You had a core group. Bischoff comes in '94, starts off in his announcer, and then makes a play for the executive position, and that's what happens. So if Jim Ross is there, Ross stays true to the game. In my opinion, Ross, I think you're right. I think Ross stays true to the game. He keeps Vader at top, has Sting and him trade the title for a while. Flair comes back in '93, late '93, early maybe mid, gets Flair on top now, and then keeps Flair, and then has Flair and Wyndham feud. And we finally get to see that come to fruition after, God, they built that for like 5 years, and then it just faded because both of them went to WWF.
Yeah, I mean, you would have kept Ross probably would have kept with certain storylines that the territory would have been okay with,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you may not really have needed to. Maybe you would bust out on a national level,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe you don't get Hogan, you don't get the NWO, but I bet you Eddie would have been a main eventer by the time you were done.
Yes.
Jericho probably would have been a main eventer by the time you were done. Benoit would have been a main eventer by the time you were done. Booker probably would still have risen to main event status. I mean, crap, maybe even Disco Inferno, God forbid, would have gotten a run with it. Like, we don't know, but I don't think it would have really gone anywhere. Because until Monday Nitro, it was still kind of, it still kind of had that perception of, um, regional, because you had 605,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a couple of the other like little 1 hour shows.
Yeah, you had Saturday Night, Power Hour, Main Event, uh, and WCW Pro. Like those were your main shows.
Yeah, you had a guy in Ted Turner that loved the wrestling business,
Mm-hmm.
so you probably wouldn't have had to worry about TV. Maybe somebody would have come along and said, "Hey, let's go main event, let's go prime time, but we're not going to do Monday. Let's do it on Thursday
Mm-hmm.
or Friday or whatever, right?" So maybe you didn't compete with the WWF, but at that time you would have had Raw. Eventually, you would have got SmackDown, but you would have had Raw and
Mm-hmm.
Nitro 2 nights a week of wrestling. You could have done all types of crazy things with it. You still could have probably torn around the country and been a national promotion. But some of the pitfalls that WCW had once Bischoff took over, you probably wouldn't have had. I mean, crap, Paul White may have never even left.
Yeah, that's true.
You probably wouldn't have had so many of the cronies show up. Maybe you would have gotten Macho, and you would have pushed them to the top. With the ultimate goal, you get you a pay-per-view with Macho Man and Flair,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time they could both still wrestle. You probably would have pushed. He would have been smart enough to push the up and comers. So you probably would have been okay. You may not again made $100 million, but you probably would have survived.
Yeah.
Because again, on the flip side of the coin, if you eliminate the Monday Night Wars, then Raw's not going to do anything controversial. So they're going to stay status quo. So you're going to have two companies on primetime just staying status quo. And it probably would have worked because it worked before. It was working before the Monday Night Wars.
It's interesting because, the Monday Night Wars under that kind of a banner could have been a lot more interesting.
Well,
A lot
no,
more
because
exciting.
you may not have even had that.
Yeah.
Turner may have been like, okay, we'll give you prime time, but you're going to go to Friday nights.
Oh, yeah. They would have
You
probably
go
maintained a pretty gradual growth at that point then.
do what?
They would have probably maintained a gradual growth if they had done a different primetime night.
I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I bet you if you go back and look, there were more people watching wrestling when Raw went live and Nitro went live than we've seen since.
Hmm.
All right, let's not forget that when Andre wrestled Hogan at Saturday Night's Main Event and Andre won, that was in front of a 33 million
Yeah.
audience.
Hulkamania was at its peak. Andre the Giant, Hogan. That
Well, yeah,
was the
but
thing.
what I'm saying is, there was an audience. The
Yeah.
audience would have carried you through. Now, did it spike during the Monday Night Wars? Sure, but I bet you if you go back and look, the audience was probably 7, 8, 9 million before the Monday Night Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you put them on different nights, well, whatever part of your audience had flipped the channel to watch WCW as opposed to WWE, they would probably all be watching one program.
Mm-hmm.
Because we would have. I mean, look at how many times we sat there and you taped one
Mm-hmm.
so you could watch one live. And then as soon as you were done, you hit play on the VCR. And
Yeah.
yes, ladies and gentlemen, we had to record it on a VCR.
See, a VCR, ladies and gentlemen, what that is it's a tape. It's not a disc. It's not a flash drive. It was this little thing that had a tape ribbon between these two wheels, and it actually had to put it in the machine and it would play it. And when you wanted to watch it again, you had to rewind it. Just thought I'd put that out there. Somebody's listening right now going, what the hell? Wait, what? What about the iPhone? There was no iPhone. Losers. I do miss when wrestling was that simple. When life was that simple. You got a tape from whoever was in the know. Because we've talked about it many times. There's always somebody that had a tape. Dude, you got to check this out. The King of Deathmatch. That's the one we talk about the most. And
I,
it's just an easier time.
I still have a King of the Death match.
Oh man, that
I
was
think,
when I learned that Cactus Jack was a freaking badass.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got Foley on it, but I'm not. I don't remember ever watching the thing. And it's an old VHS tape that you can record over,
Yeah,
and the sticker says King of the Death match. It may give the year, and there's like two other programs on it too. So, I mean, I got like old AEWA stuff. I got some old NWA stuff on VHS tapes.
hmm
So, but yeah, I mean, again, I think if Ross had the opportunity, you probably wouldn't have had certain things happen. But I could honestly see that WCW would still be around today. And again, it could be the size of Impact or TNA. I mean,
yeah,
it's January, TNA.
that's right. So hey, speaking of TNA, let's talk a little bit about the results from TNA's Hard to Kill this past week. Huge event, huge event. When I say huge, I'm gonna read through the match results. Um, and by the number of matches, you can tell that they really took this serious, this rebranding. Um, of course, it's from the Palms Casino and Resort in Las Vegas. Steve Macklin defeated Rich Swann. Rich Swann came to the ring in like an old Flash Funk kind of attire. It was pretty cool. The tag team of The System, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, defeated Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young. Something of note, Eric Young is working on a handshake deal with TNA right now. Crazy Steve defeated Tommy Dreamer to become the new TNA Digital Media Champion. I feel like that title may not last very long. It's only been around for a little while. Giselle Shaw wins the Knockouts Ultimate X match, becoming the new #1 contender for the Knockouts title. PCO defeats Dirty Dango, formerly known as Fandango, by disqualification after interference, which this becomes a six-man tag. PCO, Rhino, and Jake Something defeated Dango, Alpha Bravo, and Oleg Prudius. Oleg, by the way, is formerly known as Vladimir Kozlov. The Decay, Jessica Havoc, and Rosemary defeated MK Ultra, which is Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly, to become the new TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions. I remember the Decay pretty well. I've seen very limited amounts of Slamovich or Killer Kelly. Chris Sabin defeated Kushida and El Hijo del Vikingo to retain the TNA X Division Championship. Josh Alexander defeated Alex Hammerstone. I'm still on the Hammerstone bandwagon. Whoever is that company that signs him to a full-time deal, he's going to be a big, big star. ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay defeated the Rascals, Mike Bailey and the Laredo Kid, and the Grizzled Young Vets to retain the TNA Tag Team Championships. At this point, we're getting ready for the TNA Knockouts Championship match, where we see the first of two debuts. This one was a little lame, but just because it seemed like kind of a ripoff. Formerly known as Dana Brooke, Ash the Elegance, I think is what they're calling her. Debuted. She came to the ring after arriving to the arena in a limousine. Comes to the ring in a fur coat. Brian and I were talking about it before we started recording tonight. Very similar to Toni Storm. I think Brian hit the nail on the head with that. Jordan Grace defeated Trinity to become the new TNA Knockouts champion. This is signifying that Trinity's run with TNA is likely done. Now, there's a lot of talk right now that Trinity, formerly known as Naomi, will be returning to WWE. I got to be honest, I'm not convinced that that's the case. I mean, anything can happen. We've seen it. But I just don't feel like that's where she's going to go. I don't think she's necessarily going to AEW either. But I don't know. For some reason, I just have my doubts. Of note, Mercedes Moné and Bailey were in attendance during this, not just during this match, but during the event. And then in the main event, Moose defeated Alex Shelley to become the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. His celebration didn't last long, however, because Nick Nemeth, the wanted man, made his debut and confirmed that he has signed with TNA. It's a huge event. I'm not exactly a big fan of Ash by Elegance or whatever the fuck, but Nick Nemeth is a huge, huge get for TNA. I don't know how long his run will be there, but if they're smart, they strap him up quick and let him really shine and let TNA really grow under his guidance.
Man. So I did happen to watch this, and just some, I guess, little things for me that kind of stood out.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a fan of. Well, first, let me thank the cable company for screwing up the initial buy-in of the program. When I turned it on at like 7 o'clock, I got a big fat technical difficulties.
Oh, man.
Logo, and didn't really pick the show up. I think I maybe missed part of the first match. So thank you for that, Senior Cable Company. So to me, it also didn't get started until Alexander, and Hammerstone.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know who convinced Dana Brooke that was a good look for her. Um, so we can like that looks nothing like her. And even had to pay attention to the announcers to be like, who is that? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, it was interesting with Nemeth, with Nick, the way he went in the crowd, ripped his shirt, and had the TNA logo on underneath.
Mhm.
Um, you did miss the little spot where, oh, what's his name? Oh, Lordy. I'm drawing a blank. Scott D'Amore and the guy from AAA saying that they've reached an agreement that they're partners now. I don't
Mm.
remember. The exclusive partners was used, and then out came Vikingo, um, which is interesting because, of course, AEW has been using Vikingo for some time, and I think they've even appeared on some of their shows. Um, so again, that was just to me that's interesting. And where did Roosh come from? Was he CMLL or AAA?
Roosh, I think, was CMLL.
So yeah, I was just like, well, that's real interesting, and I'm just wondering if we're not going to get Vikingo anymore in AEW. Um, kind of like what that guy's like all over the place.
Mhm.
Um, but again, I have no problem. TNA's on Thursday, and we can catch them there. I enjoyed the tag match, the 4-team tag match. I thought that was really good for um, having 4 teams. Um, the grizzled young vets, man. I mean, that's like a team and a half.
Yes. Yeah, that's a hell of a get for them as well as far as the tag teams.
Yeah. Um, I mean, all in all, I thought it was a good pay per view. I don't think it was one of their best,
Mhm.
but it definitely wasn't one of their worst. So,
I mean, frankly, it's congratulations to them. I mean, that's a hell of a way to start the year and to rebrand. You could really feel like there was an honest to god attempt to truly reboot the company.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you had what Eric Young
Mhm.
came out and gave his little speech as well. So that was interesting. Um, but again, I thought it was good. Um, I missed again the buy-in or whatever you call the thing.
Yeah.
Um, what was the first match? The women's X division.
Yeah, I believe the show started with the Ultimate X match.
Yeah, I think by the time the difficulty stopped, I only saw like 5 minutes of that. So that's how long
Mhm.
I was experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah,
Um,
I ran into that with World's End. When I ordered World's End, I got like the first match was cut off because of the some kind of issue they had.
mhm.
So I'm scrolling through the photo gallery. By the way, it's TNAWrestling.com now is their official website. Um, again, I couldn't be happier to see them bring TNA back. I think it was a mistake to try rebranding so often. TNA was the right direction to go with that. Um, I feel like with what they're doing now, you have a great mix of young and veteran talent. And guys like Eric Young, guys like Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, PCO, Josh Alexander. I still think Hammerstone is. Don't pass up Alex Hammerstone. Just don't. You've got to get him under a contract. Nick Nemeth, of course. Moose. I mean, he continues to impress. Like it's hard, and I wasn't always a Moose fan. I don't know if I'll ever really be 100%, but the guy just gets better and better. You can't really disrespect it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not kidding. That really doesn't look like her. I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to find the picture. I was like, oh wow, that doesn't look like her anymore. Her face is all jacked up. That's sad. We'll leave that alone. But I think Nick Nemeth is a huge signing for them, and the fact that if he's utilized right, I mean, you got a lot of possibilities there. I'd love to see him against Eddie Edwards, Chris Sabin. I mean, damn, there's a lot of great matches in that. Josh Alexander would be a good one too. So from Vegas to the Valley, New Japan Battle in the Valley. Um, Brian, did you watch this show completely? Did you
Not
watch any
yet.
of it? Okay.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
So I don't know that I want to go through the results of it because you said you're going to watch it, but I did want to
No,
talk about. You
fine.
go
It's
through it.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, run through.
All right. So we'll go through the results here, and then I'll give some thoughts on just a couple of the things that I read about. Here, I haven't seen the show yet. I'll be probably checking it out sometime this week as well. So Fred Rosser and Jacob Fatu and Shota Umino defeated Team Filthy, Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs, and Tom Lawler. The match itself, everything I've read, everything I've watched clip-wise, makes it look like it was pretty good. Some miscommunication with Team Filthy is what causes the finish to happen. But that's not the story that came out of this match or this show. The story happens at the end. Got a guy leaping the rail with a mask on, might I add. Beats the piss out of Shota Umino. Throws him into the ring. Takes a mask off, and then we get Jack Perry with a full-on beard. Perry rolls in the ring, nails a great-looking flash knee to Shota Umino. And then what he does next is what I'm curious about. Pulls a piece of paper out of his jacket, shows it to the crowd. It's got the AEW logo on the top. They play it up like it's a contract. Tears it up, and he puts an armband on his arm that says scapegoat.
May I?
Absolutely.
So, of course, this little segment was out there on social media, and
Oh yeah, immediately as soon as it happened.
um, for my take, right? Because we all know that wasn't a legit contract.
Right.
Now, who knows though if his contract ran out while he was gone and he just wasn't re-signed,
Mm-hmm.
or we don't know, right? Because you just we don't know. I don't know if anybody's asked Tony, since this has occurred. So I'm okay with the contract, ripping up the contract. And, again, until somebody says otherwise, somebody like Tony Khan, it's a work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I do think though that instead of using the term scapegoat, he should have put Jackass.
Yes.
I mean, we kind of have made and poked fun at CM Punk and all this stuff, but this is one situation that I absolutely am going to stand with Punk. Much like the Ace bit a guy or what.
He did. He bit a guy.
Yeah, that situation, right? I'm standing firmly in the Punk camp here.
Yeah.
If a senior veteran tells you should use candy glass instead of real glass, and then you take it upon yourself to use real glass, and then walk backstage and you're part of a fight, you're a jackass. Like, there comes a point in time where some of these young people need to pay attention to what other people are telling them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if it's me and CM Punk says, you know what, you should probably use candy glass, I'm going to be like, well, thank you, Phil. Where can I get me some? I'm going to take the advice of CM Punk. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I'm going to learn from it. And I damn sure am not going to go in the back thinking I'm Billy Badass after just having a match, picking a fight with CM Punk. Because while his MMA career may not have been stellar, he very well might know moves that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or he might be able to box, and me being a little old Jack Perry, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to fight, right? Because I've been brought up in the wrestling business where CM Punk has got other training, and Lord have mercy, we all know about front face locks, but there are sometimes you just got to shut your mouth and walk by.
Yep.
And I mean, literally, because of that little hissy fit, and I'm going to say it's a hissy fit, he cost AEW, CM Punk, cost him millions of dollars, cost him audience, and I'm telling you, if I was Tony Khan, I would have said the same thing that Tony Khan apparently told CM Punk, get your fucking ass out there and wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time CM Punk came back through that curtain, Jack Perry would no longer be a part of AEW. And I would have told CM Punk as such.
Yeah.
So I don't buy his little tough guy attitude. To me, it was absolutely stupid. I wasn't. You were more of a fan of, Jungle Express than I was because Luchasaurus.
Hey.
I was never a fan.
Wrestling's only dinosaur.
Yeah, he just.
Poor guy. Kill switch.
Like he'd have been out the door. Pack your shit. You're fired from AEW. Get out of here.
Yeah, there's Brawl Out. The September of 2022. Punk's already torn his bicep. He's angry. He's pissed at the Bucks. That happens. That's on Punk. I completely agree. We get to All Out in Wembley. Punk has basically done everything in his power to change up what he can do. He makes Collision alongside Tony Khan, of course, and we get a true wrestling program. That's the truth. What we got from Collision in its first few episodes was tremendous. Like, the wrestling was just awesome. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad show now, so don't go so far with it, but what I'm saying is you could see a clear distinct difference between the programs, which was great. If you want the sports entertainment stuff, Dax Harwood actually said this earlier this week. Sports entertainment sort of thing, you got Dynamite. You want the wrestling, you want the sport, and you got Collision. And that was the purpose. That was the goal. So, getting to All Out, getting to Wembley, hearing that Punk was like just trying to help this young kid. And I always get irritated when I hear, guys call wrestlers kid because I think it's kind of degrading. But in this situation, I think kid is a very accurate description because here's an immature guy. Brian says jackass. I can't disagree. Doesn't want to take the advice. Doesn't want to listen to somebody that clearly knows what the fuck he's talking about. He just wants to do his own thing. And then he goes out there. He does it. He gets away with it. And then he goes out and real glass, cry me a river. Like, dude, I'd have hit you in the face too. I'd have waited right there at Gorilla, and as soon as you got back there, whop, right on your jaw. You'd have been done. And I completely agree with you, Brian. Perry would have been fired immediately. And I'd have told Punk, I'd have pulled Punk to the side and said, listen, that's not how we feel. That's not how I feel. He's out of here. I'll get the fuck to the ring. Because, he was furious. But
yeah, I'd have told Punk, get the fuck out there and wrestle. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just so the show would go on.
Right.
And then again, in the meantime, pack your bags. Here's I'll have somebody arrange the plane ticket. Sit your ass at home. You'll be fired, when I get back to the States.
Yeah.
And
it really should have ended with that.
Sure. But, again, with Punk, we had just gotten rumors, right? You had just gotten rumors, or you were starting to get rumors that the Bucks were like, hey, if he can be good for 6 months,
yeah,
we'll do business. I think Kenny had been okay with it. Kenny was willing to do business, but the Bucks were like, no, we want 6 months of good behavior. And when I say cost them millions, you can't tell me that the entire world would not have then been watching with bated breath for FT Punk or whatever it was, CMR, whatever.
CMFTR, yeah.
Yeah. Versus the Elite
mm-hmm.
at the biggest, they probably would have held it till Wembley. That's what I would have done. I'd have teased it, and I would just have it run, and the payoff match would have been at Wembley. And the reason why is because I would get more pay-per-view buys from the States if I held it at Wembley,
mm-hmm.
Than I would here. Your Wembley tickets would surpass what you did last year. You'd probably have to open up more seats. But because some little jackass that thinks he's, knows the business or doesn't want to listen to, right? He cost them millions. Flat out millions. It would have been your biggest pay-per-view ever. It probably would have reached numbers you would have never even seen again.
I think that's what gets to me is the fact that they were on track. They really were on track, and heading into this negotiation for their TV rights, Phil Brooks, CM Punk, had a huge impact on what WBD thought of the company. There's a reason that people were giving him the nickname One Bill Phil, as in $1 billion, which is apparently the rumored amount that they were looking to offer. So there's no telling the impact of it. We'll find out. We'll find out later this year.
No, I don't think we'll ever, because to me, you're like, they're never going to tell you this for real. Now,
Mhm.
Phil might one day, but Tony's never going to give it up. No executive from Warner Brothers is ever going to give that number up.
Yeah.
So you don't know, you're not going to know the value, you'll know the rumor.
Right.
You're not going to know the amount of money that was lost by, again, FTR and Punk versus the Elite.
Hmm.
You're never going to be able to track that in revenue. But I can tell you as a fan and somebody that's watched wrestling since the 70s, that was probably going to take you not just a promotion, but to business and get you as close to the Monday Night Wars as you've been in a long time.
Hmm.
And when I say Monday Night Wars, I'm not talking like the two companies competing. I'm talking like the amount of people that would have tuned in.
Hmm.
I mean, CM Punk was getting ESPN. You know what I'm saying? He was getting national exposure
Hmm.
when the only other one getting it is MJF. It would have and then it would have also changed the dynamic of what happened in the locker room,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not like there's anybody that's ever produced footage, right? So it would have become this myth, this legend that grew and grew and grew and grew, right?
Hmm.
So it would be, to me, it would become such a myth. It would be like, not saying it anywhere close to like, but it would be like Brock versus the Undertaker, 21-1 or 20-1 or whatever it is,
Right. Right.
right? Did Brock go along with the script, or did he take matters into his own hands? Like, you know what I'm saying? It would be
Yeah.
like, did they actually fight in the back, or it was just some creative story to drive business through the roof? So, but hey, thanks, uh, uh, scapegoat. Yeah, thanks.
I'm not a big fan of the nickname either. Like, I don't know that. I mean, did it get people talking? Sure, but I sure hope that he doesn't just continue this whole New Japan journey with "I'm a scapegoat. I got fired because of somebody else's actions." Like, nope, that's not a story to me. That's
Yeah.
like,
That doesn't make you a scapegoat because you
yeah.
were just as responsible for that.
Now, I mean, one thing I would identify, and this is just when the story came out, and of course, Tony Khan says that he feared for his life. Um, I am still, and like you said, we may never know. I'm still curious as to what exactly happened back there. There is an account, um, a rapper that was there with Swerve, that basically said there was a lot of bloodshed, there was a lot of cussing, and it was really intense.
Yeah, and Samoa Joe broke it up.
Yeah, and a big Samoan broke it up.
So, since you didn't see any cuts on Punk, I think it's safe to assume that old Jack
Very
Perry got his ass whooped.
Which, I mean, come on, how many times is CM Punk gonna let somebody go into business for themselves on him
Yeah.
and not react? Like, he's only human.
Again, I am like solely in Punk's camp for the events that happened.
Yeah,
Same with the locker room incident. However, I'm not a fan of what may have occurred with Tony Khan,
yeah,
or
that gets a little shaky.
yeah, him leaving or whatever. But so I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of in the middle or something.
Yeah,
But I hope he did whoop his ass. I hope he did. You know, I really hope he did. And I hope it comes out one day that he got a hold of Adam Page too.
I will say this: watching him in WWE right now, it's like watching a completely different person. If, in fact, CM Punk was that miserable working in AEW, he has never seemed to be any as at peace as he is right now. Like he looks completely comfortable and confident. And I am sure that Triple H and the rest of the guys in the back are doing everything they can to keep him happy until he has a meltdown, which is entirely possible because it's just what he has done over the course of the past few years. But right now, it seems like it's Punk's gain, everybody else's loss.
Well, I mean, something tells me that. Remember when he was on suspension the first time and he showed up at the WWE?
Oh yeah. Showed up and made
To
amends
make
with a bunch of people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, something tells me that he went there to make amends. And then once he got let go from AEW, he was fine with going back there. Do I think he'll probably have a meltdown again? Sooner or later.
Yeah.
I mean, track record shows that. Do I hope it happens? No. Because I hope he gets his WrestleMania moment. I hope he gets the world title. I hope that, Jack Perry can ooh and ah and be like, oh, I fucked up. Oh, so that's what a champion looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a veteran of so many years looks like. That's what the number one T-shirt guy looks like. I mean, crap, TNA could sell a CM Punk T-shirt, and it would probably be their number one seller too.
Yep.
Like,
I've never quite understood the. I mean, sure, you get to a point where you feel cocky and arrogant, and you're like, "Yeah, I got this down pat," blah blah blah. But at some point, you got to remember that there's a reason that a guy like CM Punk is who he is.
yes.
It's just common sense. Like you just have to be like, "Oh yeah, that's what that is."
And again, I know we said it before. What do you think the Undertaker would have done to your ass?
Come on, dude. Taker would have fucked him up really bad.
I mean, there's so many in the past, they just would have obliterated them.
But see, if Taker would have did it, not only would we not have heard about it until much after his retirement, Perry just would have quietly been fired.
Oh,
Like
well,
it would have been like the big ghost story.
Yeah, but so that to me, that's the difference in Vince,
Mm-hmm.
right, and Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Right. So they do kind of parallel each other in some regards because Vince is not known for shutting up when he should shut up.
Right.
Right. Same thing with Tony. Sometimes Tony just needs to learn to shut the F up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But Vince, he knew when it was time to cut rope. I mean, look, Lord have mercy. Look at the Ultimate Warrior.
I knew you were going to bring him up. That's a great example, but I knew you were going that direction.
I mean, this is your world champion.
Yep.
Who says, hey, I want more money. And there's no doubt Vince could have paid him. Right? But
yep.
Vince said, you know what? I don't need you that bad, buddy. And out the door he went.
I think the best part of that is that, they're at Madison Square Garden for SummerSlam. They're there. And the Warrior thinks he's got Vince over a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Vince says, yeah, sure, we'll give you everything you want. And then as soon as he gets out through the curtain, you're fucking fired.
Take his title. You're fired. Just like, that's why Vince was Vince. And that's where, again, Tony has to learn from some of these other people, like Vince.
Yeah.
Right? Now, don't be goddamn supposedly covering up murders and steroid abuse, riding on plane rides where
Yeah.
we come out and shit like that. Don't let's not get crazy. But the same breath, there comes a point in time where you got to do the right thing. I would have been like, no, CM Punk is going to bring me millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and Jack Perry, who instigated the fight, is going to cost me millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the right business thing here.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm going to take millions over losing millions every day. And then it would have set a precedence.
I think that with Tony Khan, if I could be a advisor to old TK, I'd say, you know what? Let's just put the phone away for a while. Let's just put the Twitter away for a while.
No, I'm not following that. Like the biggest problem with Tony and his Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can only talk so much shit about people before you're going to force somebody to respond. And unfortunately, we live in a society now where social media is king.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff he gets blasted for is stupid.
I agree with you on that.
But you're a person with feelings. Now, what you think about this, Dan? If I got on social media every day and just literally blasted you, how long would it take before you're like, you know what, enough's enough?
Yeah.
Let me start blasting back. Right? And hey, I get it. Jinder, you won the world title. You were huge in the WWE. But hey, where you been the last year? Why do you get the title shot? Right? Like, I get that point of it. Like, and really, if you think about it, what did he do? Did he put asses in the seats?
No. And that's why, and I said this on Twitter, that's why when they pulled the trigger on him to get the title in itself, they did it on a SmackDown. No, they did it on pay-per-view. I stand corrected. But then when they pulled the trigger for him to lose it, they did it on a SmackDown because he was not drawing viewers. He wasn't selling tickets. He wasn't selling merch. Who did you ever see wearing a Jinder Mahal shirt? I'll answer that for you. Nobody.
You got the world title because they were trying to break into India.
Yes, exactly. And while I respect the idea, and I'm not saying because I have said Jinder Mahal sucks and all that. Yes, I've said that. But I'm not saying that Jinder is not a hard-working son of a bitch, because he is. And he did change his own career and fate. I cannot disrespect that or disregard that. But I'll say this. The fact that he got the title was just what Brian said, and then when he lost that title was because they realized that experiment had failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because you can get a title doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
And then again, what did they point out? You haven't done? Have you even been on TV in the last year?
Hadn't won a match in over 365 days.
Okay, so you hadn't won a match in a year, yet you get a title shot.
Right. But has the audacity to say, who the fuck is Hook? Well, if we're being fair, if we're being honest, Hook is 29-1. He gets a title shot because he's fucking almost undefeated. Like, that's how that works. Now, we'll talk about that here in a minute, but yeah, I felt like Jinder trying to capitalize in the middle of that whole conversation was stupid. It was cheap heat, and I mean, what do we get out of it? Unfortunately, we get a possible injury to Seth Rollins. It sounds like it's a knee injury. We don't know for sure. We're still waiting on confirmation. I've checked every resource I can check, everywhere from the Insider to Fightful and all points in between. No one has a confirmation yet. Simply that he was confirmed to be limping backstage after he was helped to the back. Good news is he was helped to the back and he was limping around on his own without crutches or anything. Bad news is it could still turn up with an MRI, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, but the crazy thing about the world of pro wrestling, until it's official, you just don't know.
Exactly. It could have just been a stinger or a bad bump, or it could be a complete MCL. You never know.
Yeah, and I get it. Accidents happen and all that good crap. But wow, if he is legitimately hurt, and maybe who knows how long it's going to take him out, because we are 3 months shy of WrestleMania 40.
Yep. Only a couple weeks away from the Rumble.
Yeah. Wow, what a way to squander that one.
That sucks. Ooh. And what'd you do it with? Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal. Wow.
One of the guys whose contract comes up in the middle of this year, you put him in the ring with Jinder Mahal, risk injury. Have him miss 2 year marquee events. That's a huge fucking loss.
I would not be shocked if Rollins doesn't not re-sign with WWE.
I think about that a lot because both him and Becky's contracts are ending around the same time. And first off, Becky Lynch has nothing to prove to the wrestling world. So she doesn't need WWE money. She's about to have a New York bestseller with her book.
I need to order that too, by the way.
Yeah, me too. And she completely transformed how women's wrestling was in WWE. Her with the other 4 horsewomen were responsible for that women's revolution there. And you'll never take that away from her. So wherever she does after this contract is up to her. And if she wants to work a limited schedule, she can go to TNA. She can go to AEW. She can work Stardom. She can work hell, she can work Women of Wrestling. Whatever she wants to do.
Something tells me that Mercedes Moné is going to start something.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's not to say that maybe they don't show up in AEW somewhere down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, with maybe not just her, but with Mox, Jericho, some of these other ones that, left the WWE and almost immediately went to New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That the floodgate is going to open sooner or later. And now Nemeth, right? Nick is over there feuding with, or starting a feud with Finlay. Happened at Wrestle Kingdom. So now, but again, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's another one.
Yeah.
That is like, oh, let me go to New Japan. Right? Now, for some of these people, maybe they went to, did time in New Japan prior to. Jericho did. I'm not sure if Rollins did when he, was under the name Black. And I'm not sure if Mox did, when Mox was before WWE or whatever. But, like, I think we as an audience, especially if I'm a bobblehead, think the WWE is the be-all, end-all, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't know what, like, ultimately everybody's bucket list is, right? Maybe one of Rollins' bucket list is, hey, I want to go wrestle for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. And now with his contract coming out, and now there's a resurgence in New Japan coming to the States, maybe he says, fuck it, I don't want to resign. I can come back in 5 years. Maybe I want to go to Japan. Maybe Becky says, well, you know, Mercedes over there, she's done okay for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie did okay for herself when she went back. Maybe I want to test the waters. You know, maybe Japan, the strong style is more what I want to get out of it. Maybe I want to keep being the man and just have the ability to go beat people up and not have to worry about getting punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like until the ink is dry, you just don't know. If it was me, I'd go take a 2-year sabbatical from the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Eventually, your gimmick's going to get old. Right? Even the little, I don't know what you call the little, I don't want to say like debutante, but like the little flashy Seth Rollins that you have now.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually gets old. You get stale. You want to go try something new. Now more than ever in his career, you have opportunity. Go do something else. And I'm sure he's talked to Mox. You know, I'm sure they've talked to Mercedes. I'm sure Bailey has, and Bailey's probably told him, oh, she loves it over there. She's treated different by fans. You know, she put on a pedestal. You know, she's absolutely tearing it up over there. Fuck it, let's do a tour of Japan. I've never done it. I want to do it.
With Rollins, I could see him wanting the Okada match. I could see him wanting to work with Naito and with Tanahashi. These are bucket list things that these guys talked about back in Ring of Honor, back in their early days, because it's what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be. It wasn't always, we got to get to WrestleMania. It was, I want to work this guy, I want to work that guy, I want to do this, I want to do that. Then they get there, and of course, I mean, hey, look, here we are, we're talking about it like, WWE has done them wrong, and that's not what we're saying. The reality is, Seth Rollins is a huge star, bigger star than he ever would have been had he not gotten the WWE. That's just the truth. He's a household name. So is Becky Lynch. But look what happened with Cody. That's a great example. Let's take a look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes left WWE because all they wanted him to be was Stardust. They said, just keep the face paint on. And he says, nope, not going to do that. Bets on himself. We know the story. Comes back to WWE, and the American Nightmare is top merch seller, top guy. Now, remains to be seen what happens with him here coming up at Mania and the Rumble. But the truth is there that they put him at the top. Rollins, same example. Ring of Honor World Champion, classic matches before he ever touches WWE's ring. Gets to WWE, of course, gets really, really over. Next thing you know, it's time to renegotiate. Well, it just so happens that he has a very, very public outburst when CM Punk's return happens. Now, he's not an idiot. He knows that CM Punk can make money. But he also knows that he doesn't have to stay after his contract comes up. Yes, he wants the Okada match. Yes, he wants to work with Mox as Tyler Black. Because it's a fresh coat of paint. It's a break. It's a vacation almost because he gets an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, I mean, even on WWE programming, right?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they'll tell you how, the kid's dream growing up was to be the WWE champion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rollins has been the world champion, universal champion, whatever you want to call it. How many times?
Yeah, he's done it.
Right, he's done it. Right, so the only thing really short might be, I don't know, a WrestleMania moment. Right.
Right.
He has a WrestleMania moment. Right.
I mean, beat Triple H, he beat Brock.
So then what's left? Right? What's left? Well, all my lists are ticked off. I want to go have some fun,
Mm-hmm.
and by me leaving, it's not going to demean or demote me or anything like that. I
No.
just want to go have some fun again, and it could be that simple. Like, man, I want to go. I want to find out if Will Ospreay is everything they say he is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to go face Okada. I want to go again face Naito. I want to go like, I watch. I'm sure they're all watching each other's programs. Man, Brian Danielson says that he's gonna back off of in ring work towards the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and he's clicking on a level we haven't seen. Right, he is firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the best in the world right now. I want to go wrestle him, but I can't do it here.
Right.
But I'm young enough that I could go take 2, 3 years, go have some fun, and come back and be a bigger star. I mean, Rollins' legacy in the WWE is cemented.
Oh yeah, Hall of Famer all the way.
Right. So who's to say though he's not like you? Maybe I want to retire in 3 or 4 years, but I want to start a new bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go have some fun again.
Yeah.
Hey, and AEW, man, they're right on the brink. I want to go see if I can be the guy to help them push it over, because ultimately it's good for business for everybody.
Yep.
Pay attention, bobbleheads on both sides of the fence. 2, 3 companies are better for business for everybody than just one.
Yeah.
Same thing with Becky. Hey, I've done it all. I want to go have some fun. Man, I keep hearing about Tessa Blanchard. I want to go down to Mexico and wrestle Tessa Blanchard. Even if I take 6 months and go have some fun to think about writing a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go explore the world. I mean, that's where we're at right now. I don't think anybody should just think that they're going to lock themselves into certain places.
It's always one of those situations where, and I'm happy for them when they get an opportunity to branch out and do what they want to do, because I've had conversations with wrestlers that, yeah, their goal was to get to the big time, whatever that meant. But I've had conversations with wrestlers on the indies that were like, all I want to do is just wrestle every week.
Yes.
I mean, yes, it was their dream to be a wrestler, and that's what they're doing. So you have to consider it on all points, and I think that um, for guys like Seth Rollins, for gals like Becky Lynch, when they've already cemented their legacy, literally backing the truck up, I just don't think that appeals to them. I mean, sure, it's money, great, okay, cool, but I just don't think it has the same impact anymore for them.
Nah,
Because they have their money now, they've made it.
sure. Yeah. And they're young enough they can make it again.
Yep.
They could do what Drew McIntyre did. They could
Yes.
do what Cody Rhodes did.
Hmm.
Right? They could walk away. We'll see you in a couple years.
Yep.
We're gonna go have some fun, and when we come back, we're gonna be bigger stars than when we left.
Yep.
Right? You know, to me, the thing about staying in one place, there's only so many times that we can see Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. There's only so many times you can see Rollins versus, dare I say, Jinder Mahal. There's only so many times, you can see Rollins and Roman Reigns. There's only so many times you can see that. And I'm not saying you're not putting on good matches, but there's only so many times. Like, the fans have fantasy matches, right? We all have them.
Sure.
And I bet you Seth Rollins has fantasy matches too. And there's going to come a point in time where you may not necessarily get a flood of people leaving, but you're going to get some top tier talent that says, "Hey, I'm not resigning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm young enough. I want to go play in the sandbox. I want to go, play in somebody else's sandbox. I want to go do this. I want to go do that, and I'll come back." Jericho's another one. Oh, he was going to retire in the WWE. Maybe. And hey, that's probably the right spot for him to retire. But in the meantime, look what he's doing.
Yeah. Look what he's done with his career. I mean, we talk about cementing legacies. He created another. I mean, that's there's a lot of hate out there for Jericho. Some of it's earned, some of it's not. He literally created another legacy, a completely separate legacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Like, that is something that you won't see that with anyone else. I think that's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to close out this week with a conversation about a guy who's coming towards his official retirement and his match at Dynamite. We're talking about Sting. Sting and Darby Allin have a Texas Tornado tag match against Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita. These guys went balls out. Just ridiculous.
Poor Darby.
Yeah. Latest on the Darby's going to the hospital alert, Darby gets slung and does like this corkscrew bump where his head smacks the bottom rope and then he lands on the mat.
Yeah, like all the way across the ring. Like corner to corner.
First off, who says to Darby, hey, we want to throw you from one side of the ring to the next, corner to corner. Can we do that? And then what possesses Darby to get high enough to go, yeah, let's do that?
No, I'm sure that's Darby. I'm sure Darby's like, listen, I got this spot I've always wanted to do.
You remember when you were a kid and they used to grab your hands and your legs and swing you? Do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, speaking of that, we did used to do that stupid shit as a kid.
Yeah, we did. So Darby goes flying. And again, we say it every week, and I'm telling you, it's the Darby watch. Darby goes flying, and I'm like, this kid's a fucking lunatic. Like, he's crazy. But he gets up, fights through it. They have a great brawl. I mean, just so much fun. They get to the finishing part. Sting grabs Hobbs, walks him over and it looked like he was kind of on the rail, so to speak, or on the wall. Does a Scorpion death drop from the wall through a table. Sting is in his 60s, ladies and gentlemen. We are witnessing the best ending to a career we will ever see. The guy is crazy for doing what he's doing because he's just taking all of these insane bumps and stuff that he just doesn't have to take.
I still think he's wearing a pad.
I hope so.
Protector.
God, I hope so. Because holy crap. But we get to the end of Dynamite, and the question is asked before we get the reveal. The question is asked, who is going to be Sting's last opponent? And let me just say how disappointed I was when the Bucks came out.
Disappointed.
He asked for it. Sting asked for them to be the ones. It's been confirmed by a lot of different sources. But for me, the novelty of it, the nostalgia of it, I almost would have wanted to see Flair or Muta.
Are you kidding me?
I
Flair?
know. I know it sounds crazy, and poor Flair would have probably died mid-ring. But what I'm saying is, this is the last match of Sting. Now, who's going to bump and sell like bastards for Sting? Absolutely the Young Bucks. Don't get me wrong. They'll bump like crazy.
Let's just take the dynamic of who should have been his last opponent, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, it can't be Flair. Flair's older than him. Flair should not ever wrestle again.
Right.
Right? So, could it have been Luger? Yeah, but Luger's not in any shape to wrestle.
Right.
Right? Hogan, maybe we could have gotten a rematch from Starrcade. I don't think Hogan's in the match to wrestle. Nikita, of course, is not in any shape. I'm just going by.
Yeah, you're just going down the list.
Yeah, right. People from the past, right? You probably could have gotten, like you literally, because of his age, you couldn't have brought in anybody from the past, right? So then let's look at the more modern type people. Rollins to me would have been a great choice, but of course Rollins is in another company, right? So you got to rule him out. You could have done really from the WWE. That's probably about it. That really would have a stake in a final match, right? Maybe you could have drawn something for Triple H, but again, he's WWE. It's not going to happen, right? Okay, so you got nobody over there. So over here, I guess he's probably faced somebody from Don Callis' group probably more than anybody else. But that's not really going to give you any that's not going to give you the bang for the buck, right? You can't really put him, or you for whatever reason, he hasn't had as many singles matches as he has tag matches, right? So you want to keep it in a tag team, right? Because ultimately that gives Darby the rub, and then it's going to give you your other tag team the rub. If FTR had been bad guys or heels, that would have been absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because I think that match would have been a gem to have watched. Right? Maybe we still get it. Who knows? But I doubt it. So, no, because they'll probably face House of Black. They'll do more with that. So anyway, so you take FTR out. You really don't have a choice in the Young Bucks, right? Remember the whole Ace Bida guy? So, since that moment, the Young Bucks are not the darlings anymore.
Right.
There's legitimate heat that people still hate them because of that fucking incident. Right? There's no other tag team in AEW that has the ability to draw that kind of heat. Like, again, they came out in mustaches, and everybody's like, oh, they got them dicky little mustaches.
Get away. We hate your mustache.
I hate them. Yeah, I hate them. They got mustaches,
Yeah.
Some people probably shave their mustaches off Oh, I can't have the Young Bucks wearing mustache if I got a mustache. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the ability to draw heat. It could be cheap heat, but I think they're in that position where they know how to get heat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what you want. You want to try and put the most heat into that match for Sting ultimately, hopefully get a win. I hope Flair fucking burns his ass. I really do. I really hope Flair turns and costs Sting the match. But anyway, they have the ability to get the cheap heat, right? MJF is out. MJ would have been prime candidate for it.
Yes, agreed.
But again, he was the good guy when he lost the title, and unless something crazy happens, he's not going to be there in March, right? So again, you have to eliminate these people that have the ability to get the heat, right? Because again, this is Sting's last match in Crockett territory where he became famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give the fans the biggest bang for the buck. You want to have them. You want to put a team against them that can literally get fans to throw beer at them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because then when Sting wins, the place is going to go bananas. And I think that's where the Young Bucks come in. They can wrestle. They're not big guys. They're not muscular guys. Darby's going to be able to do all types of crazy things and not get chucked across the ring. You know, so Darby can wrestle in this match. Sting can manhandle him. I really hope Flair nutshot Sting or something. You know, Sting goes for the Stinger Splash and Flair pulls one of them out the way.
Oh, jeez.
Oh man, I don't know why, dude, but I hope they do it. Like, I really hope they do it.
I mean, yes, I was disappointed because, like I said, I wanted the nostalgia thing, but at the same time, you make a great point. There's just not a lot of guys that are able to do it,
Yeah,
and the ones that are able to, they're either not available or just not in the shape to do it.
yeah, and again, don't. I think, like, to me, that's your issue.
Yeah,
You want the nostalgia,
yeah,
right? But again, we're not 20 years in the past. We're
yeah.
today. So any of his natural enemies that you would remember from your childhood,
They're
they're
dead
no
or
longer.
not able to perform. Oh
Yeah,
my god,
you
that's
know,
so sad.
they're no longer wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, again, Nash might have been a good one, but
Yes.
Nash, you know, is probably in the same boat as everybody else. You know, and he deserves a worthy send off. So again, that's why you wouldn't put, you know, some of the guys that really can't give 100%
Yeah.
in there.
But it's also a good opportunity for the Bucks to kind of earn back some respect. Put over the right guys. Do
No,
do
no,
what's
no.
right.
Listen, this has got nothing to do with respecting the Bucks. The Bucks need to go out there and be the biggest jackasses possible.
They're gonna be bouncing all over the place every time Sting hits them.
Oh, sure, yeah. I
They're
mean, I
gonna
get all that, but
freaking bounce like crazy. It's gonna be wild bumps.
again, to me, this is the first opportunity that the Bucks will have had
Hmm.
since the locker room incident,
Yep.
where they can obtain nuclear heat again.
Yeah.
And again, that's why if Sting is up for it, because again, I saw where Sting didn't have a problem with it, and the Bucks are there for a reason. If I'm Sting, and at the end of the day, ultimately it makes no difference because the loss, him losing his final match, ain't tainting anything. It's not going to like degrade his career. At this point, it doesn't matter, right? And maybe if I'm Sting, I'm like, you know what, Rick, I want you to cost me the match. Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, I want you to go out there and be the biggest jackasses because ultimately I'm gone. This is my opportunity to give you the chance to be bigger than when you came to this match.
Yeah.
So I would have no problem. I would be like, listen, Nate, pull him out the corner. I'll hit my head. You know, I'll kick out. I'll get back up. I'll take, the super kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And you pin me in Charlotte, that place will go bananas.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, if you wanted a way to reestablish them as bad guys, and even let Flair come out there with them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's actually a good take. I like that.
Putting Flair with the Bucks, Flair could be like, I never you son of a bitch. I kicked you out the Horseman. You weren't Horseman material.
I told you to get out of this business.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I still remember the
that's
beat down
that's
for
right.
Sting. Get out of this business.
I told you 30 years ago to get out of this business.
Oh my God. You didn't listen then. You didn't listen now. And look what happened. You're gone. You're done.
But again, though, to me, it's a way to,
yeah.
Like, if he loses, it's a way for the Young Bucks to get that heat back. Like, they will literally be, like, booed out of every building they go to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the principal of their kid's school is an AEW fan and watches his pay-per-view, like, he could be like, can you have the Jackson kids come up to my office? And by the time they get there, y'all are suspended. For what? Because your dads are jackasses. Get out of here.
We're kicking you out of school. Why? I hate your father.
Yeah, because your father. You go back and tell them.
I paid money for that event. You're fucking dad.
But I mean, think about it. It'll be probably one of your bigger pay-per-views.
Yeah.
We all loved it. We all loved the happy ending, but it wouldn't be the first time we got screwed out of it.
Right.
Because
right. Very true.
For Sting's career, this final match means nothing to the legacy. This is his opportunity to give back.
And as tradition typically predicts, when you're on your way out, you go out on your shield, go out on your back.
Well, but I mean, unless you're like, Sting or Michaels or Flair, whatever.
Michaels went out on his back, Flair went out on his back. Well, no, Flair kept coming back. I guess you gotta give that. Before we go, this Wednesday, Hook versus Samoa Joe. Brian, I'm going to ask what may seem like a silly question, but do they take the risk or take the jump?
Do what?
Do they put the belt on Hook?
Oh, shut up. Get the fuck out of here.
Listen to you.
Get the fuck out of here. Why would you ask me that? Like, that would be the dumbest thing possible.
Look, I'm a Hook fan. I love what they're doing with them, but it's not time yet for Hook. I've said it in the chat, and of course, no one bit. I was kind of hoping somebody would, but nobody did. The thing is, you've got this opportunity. This is going to make Hook look great. He's going to have a nice little bout with Samoa Joe. I don't think it'll be a squash. I think Joe will bump for him. Joe will sell for him. But at the end of the day, he'll choke him out, and we'll get a return match. Hell, we could see it even next year. We'll see it again. This is like one of those moments that can build up and build up and build up, and this is just how it starts.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could see that. I could see them, like, just because nobody would expect it, right? So I could see them getting crazy like that
Yeah.
if it was Swerve's time, right? If we were that close to Swerve taking over, right? Because that would be easy,
Yeah.
right? Joe loses Wednesday and Hook, Hook is champ for a week and then Swerve beats Hook. But I think with Swerve, I think he's got a little bit longer to go before he gets that title.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adam Hangman is going to get another run at Swerve. They're going to keep building Swerve the right way.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the year, Swerve's world champ. He goes on this long run that probably dwarfs MJF's, But I don't see them. Like, I might would even turn it off and be like, just call me when Swerve's turn.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow. Okay.
it's not his time.
No.
To me, he's nowhere near his time. Sure, is he over with the fans? Sure.
Yeah.
But just because you're over with the fans,
Hey, but they have the hook signal now.
Yeah, he's got.
Kind of logo in the rafters. I was like, look, I
Joe
love
should
Hook. I
come out
do, but
dressed
come
like
on.
the Joker, like painted his face painted
That would
like
be
the Joker.
awesome. That would be awesome.
And
That's gonna do it for us for this week.
yeah, he just needs to destroy Hook. Like, to me, just
Oh, you
wreck
think
him.
you should squash him?
Yes,
Oh wow.
because again, it's a story that you can tell later down the road
Very true. A
in
redemption
a year or
story.
two
Yeah.
how much improved Hook is.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see.
Tomorrow
Be
night.
be sure to check us out next week. We'll be back on C2CRadioshow.com. Hey, listen, Spreaker.com is still hosting our archives for the time being. We are likely going to be maneuvering to Acast again for the archives. One, because it's free, and two, since Spreaker is no longer allowing for live broadcasts, I'm shopping around. I'm looking for another live provider. So if you've got an idea, feel free to send them through. I've been looking at StreamYard, been looking at Riverside FM. I'm aware there's a lot of options, but if you got ideas, if you got suggestions, send an email to cornertocornerradio@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at C2C Radio Show and tell us what you think. You can also join the Facebook group, Corner to Corner Wrestling. Put a request in on the page, and we'll add you to the chat. You can always interact with myself, with Brian, with Rob, with Shane.
You got to pay to interact with me. Don't give this false hope. Don't do it, kid.
But I warn you, if you come in as a bobblehead, you're going out on your ass. Just thought I'd put it out there.
No, I'm okay with it. Hair bobbleheads. It's the rest of the bobbleheads.
Catch Rob at Rob Hepter C2C. Catch him up with Brian at Vlad Dragul C2C. That's VLADDRAGOOL C2C. And I'm at Stan Grubb C2C. And of course, C2CRadioshow.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch up with you next week. Good night, everybody.